Yo, what's up? Your girl G here. Welcome back to my channel. Appreciate you for tuning in. Now, look, I know I've been MIA for a little bit. So this review is going to become a little bit late. So we basically really just gonna be sitting here laying in bed, and as y'all see, I'm just gonna talk to y'all about the episode. Because usually I record over there by my window, but literally all week it's thunderstorm. So I can't record where there ain't no light, y'all. So and I haven't set up like a whole ring light situation yet over there by my window. So that's why I kind of like just typically, open my window and record, and that's what y'all see. But right now, your girl laying in bed because that's just how I'm feeling today. And yeah, so we just gonna sit here and talk about the episode, you guys, because I know it's late, so let's go ahead and get into it. Obviously, y'all know we were talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Love and Marriage Huntsville, finally hit the end of the road this season. We definitely need to let that, breathe for a little bit, which is why I'm happy Love and Marriage DC is on its way back, but it's like y'all a whole year behind, so it's just kind of like yikes. But yeah, nonetheless, Love and Marriage DC is getting ready to come on, and then also too, the reason why we'll get into it in the middle of the reunion, y'all. So nonetheless, let's go ahead. Um, we open up the episode with Miss Betty. Miss Betty trying to go after Mel. Y'all know she had decided in her mind she don't like Mel because she been a part of the Love and Marriage Huntsville shenanigans since the beginning. So Miss Betty was a part of a club, and she was like she basically formed her opinion on Mel then, and so she's going back and forth, and Stormy, was like, Mama, Mama. And when she ain't listening, she probably like, Betty, like, Betty, dang, shut up. Carlos basically asked her, like, what does this mean for y'all? And then Stormy kind of pulled I don't, just because my mama think this way, I don't want her to think like, like, girl, I still respect you. But at the end of the day, I do believe this very much so. Mel saw that was happening on Twitter, but because they weren't good, she didn't feel the need to post up and say anything. That's what it was. Because remember at that time, Stormy couldn't reach her because Mel had like blocked her on everything. That was one of the conversations they had at the beginning of this season. So Mel just didn't feel like it incentivized enough to stop all the shenanigans that was happening with Stormy with a simple, y'all, wasn't nobody talking about Stormy, let it ride. Like, she saw that mess that was happening. But yeah, even with all that, Stormy basically told Mel, like, girl, I still respect you. Like, look what you built. Like, I'm a business owner. And so I don't know. This definitely don't mean that they're gonna be best friends by any means, but maybe meaning like in the seasons going forward, it's given like they at least still want to be able to record together or film together. But Mel killed me when Miss Betty was like, girl, I don't like you. She's like, okay, Miss Betty. She's like, I feel bad for you. You don't even know me enough to know that you don't like me, but God bless you. When you hit somebody with that, God bless you. It's just like, girl, I ain't even being entertained by you. So then they start talking about Stormy's cousin, Junior. Junior came up there looking like a matador, but they of course discuss him working at Stormy's, warehouse. And now, he was hired back, but then, he decided to leave because he was like, through the ups and downs with Stormy, he was like, I definitely can admit that, I took advantage of the ups, i.e. his ex was getting lazy and he wasn't doing the work probably, or he felt like he could show up whenever, like Courtney said, you be on your phone and stuff like that. And so he definitely needed to go. That's what that agent or whatever was telling her at the season. Like, it's a good thing we caught what we did because you was about to be in a whole world of mess. And you got to make sure we're moving forward. So people that you let go, like, don't look back. And then Courtney gonna bring the cousin back. Courtney, that was the wrong call. But I'm glad Junior, on his own, accord, said, I'ma leave so me and Stormy can maintain our cousin relationship. So within that being said, with them, rekindling their relationship, of course, Carlos asked Miss Betty, okay, what about you and Lisa? And she was like, it basically is how it ended on the show. Like, we not really talking like that. And he was like, well, do you want to fix it? And she's like, of course, that's my sister. I love her. And he was like, well, you just got to give it a try. And she's like, did you see the show? And that's what, like, did you watch? she's like, this girl, was saying that she was my sister no more, like all this type of stuff. Like, it's not just about like, oh, do I want to work it out with her? Like, she gotta want to work it out with me too. But yeah, that was Stormy's little segment. So then we get on to the Fletchers. I love the Fletchers. That Nell is crazy, but like she's the type of entertainment that you need. Like, just the one outlandish person. And she's not outlandish in a crazy way. She's just outlandish with her emotions. And that's sometimes just entertaining to watch. So yeah, we get the Fletchers. Chris, he got that Jericho, just let your soul glow. Okay. He had that soul glow. His hair just all slicked back and everything. But yeah, so we get the Fletchers. Of course, we see they play back, and Carlos basically talks about how the Fletchers originally wasn't gonna do this, and of course Nell was like, obviously it's a lot to put your life out there on camera. Like, she's like, as you see, me and my kids, they put me through it. So like, a lot of people sit there and be like, oh, I can do a reality TV show, but the truth is, it is a lot to put like your life out there for scrutiny and judgment. But she decided to, and y'all, I have to say, this is the best that Nell has looked with her hair. She was one of the better looking, because for me, for the looks as far as the reunion goes, it's Mel first, Nell second, Kimmi, and then of course last Tisha. Well, no, it actually might be Tisha and then Kimmi. Tisha just messed it up with the shoes. Those shoes were terrible. I don't know who picked those shoes for her in that dress. But yeah, then Kimmi last. Ooh, Kimmi, girl, Kimmi. We gonna get into you in a second. But yeah, Nell looks so good. But yeah, so she just kind of talked about, obviously madness with her family. So of course we want to update how her and the kids, and she basically was like, Chris, he's calling me more because at the end of the day, the whole money thing was straining their relationship. And truthfully, honestly, the whole money thing was straining the relationship because it's clear that Chris runs from accountability. A lot of those boys do it clearly, obviously. And like she said, they feel like because they feel like y'all got the money, like you don't need it back. And it's like, okay, yeah, knowing your parents got money, and clearly he's taking advantage of that, feeling like he don't got to pay them back. And so because Nell's on his ass about it, like, where my money, Smokey? Don't play with me, she out there like Big Worm collecting. Don't play with me, Smokey. So, but she said, if it means having a relationship with my son, I just say, pay me when you can type situation. Now, we did get an update on the other half, like with Lexi and all of that. I'm hoping maybe, the next season we get more of that whole situation, because there's definitely more to be discovered with that one. But of course, yeah, the Fletchers, and then we get into the Fletchers and, their relationship with Tisha, and how the whole situation with the Espo, okay? And, basically the Fletchers were a little confused, and we're like, well, the only reason we were just kind of confused was just because, like, she told us that she was going to want us to speak. She saw Chris at, I guess, like a birthday party or an event or something, and, she said, really, because it was like, oh, she wanted us, but then Tisha was like, well, no, originally I wanted Chris to speak, so just Chris, this. And so, yes, but when the Fletchers look back and be like, oh, okay, I guess y'all had the event, we was okay. That's why they felt away. It wasn't just about the Espo itself. It was the fact that, like, you told us to speak. You thought of us to speak. And Nell's one of the people, like, if you, say something, then do it. So Tisha, her excuse was, well, it just was so much happening. I was just so worried about, the core six. And so they was like, so Stormy's a part of that picture? And Tisha was like, nah, it's just that, me and Stormy, we talk, we have a relationship, I'm, new with you guys. It very much was that. And also Stormy's a little bit of a bigger empire, that she definitely was looking at it, bringing some validity. And also she almost wanted to, like, have a stick it to Mel moment too as well, because Mel wasn't going to join this movement of the comeback group, by way of I'm sick and tired of interacting with my baby daddy. Y'all not gonna bring me around this mess. Yeah, no, y'all have it. And so I think Tisha was definitely looking to kind of do a replace Mel moment, but nonetheless, the Espo had its ups and downs. But what's real, the boy Marceau was acting so messy and just very ironic this reunion, because Marceau gonna pipe up talking about, oh yeah, I just, when I ran into Chris, I just thought it was real, sexist of him, because when I asked about, what he did, he just talked about himself. Or no, what it was, he was like, oh yeah, Chris had the opportunity to let us know about, him and his wife, and he did. He talked about him being a realtor and, all that stuff, but I just thought it was real sexist of him that he did, bring up his wife. And everybody started laughing, because we all know that definitely was him trying to do a play on the fact that he was in the restaurant and was like, oh, I thought you were I thought you were just Chris's pretty wife. Like, you don't know me. Like, I run business. Like, I've been running business. And that's why we all know, just as a woman watching Marceau, he's always going to view women as beneath him. And their successes don't mean as much, which is why he was trying to minimize Mel having a t-shirt business. When you in the same thing yourself. Like, the freak, it's okay when you do it, but a problem when everybody else do it, especially when a woman do it. But yeah, so when there was like, Carlos was like, yeah, that coming from you was rich, very much rich. So then yeah, after the Fletchers, they talked about that. Then we got to get into the Houston trip and them planning the Houston trip. And so their plan basically was to try to bring everybody together and have a melding moment. But of course, you can't do that when you got Martell on the trip, still trying to convince the whole world that he wasn't the only one cheating. Martell will not let it go, because he is just determined that this marriage failing is not just his fault. He cannot, his narcissistic trait will not allow him to be the one that blew this shit up. Like, you couldn't keep your dick in your pants, point blank, period. And like Nell said, when she was talking, they were talking a little bit when we get to it, she was like, I told Martell, like, if you keep doing this, you gonna lose your family. And he didn't listen. Cause he was arrogant. Like she said, him and Chris out there arrogant, point blank, period. But we'll talk about that. But yeah, nonetheless, the Houston trip, the Houston trip, they get into how, Martell, he is still upset that, basically he's getting upset that every time somebody bring up stuff that he did years ago, he's getting offended, because it's like, don't just put it all on me. Mel cheated too. And like, he want to get at Mel. Like, how come you never ask her about what she did, And so, of course, we got to get into it. And they asked Martell. Melody's annoyed with this damn story because she knows it's BS. And so it's like, okay, so when did she? And then he always stuttering with his lying ass. He's stuttering, talking about, how long were we together? No, nigga, you tell the story. Like Melly said, where is your receipts? Where is the proof? All he's gonna ever talk about is, oh, when we were married. Like, he wants to use this loophole of she cheated because even though she moved out, they weren't together. Like, she literally had her own place because they were still quote unquote married on paper. To him, that's cheating, because that's how he brought it up when they was in Houston. He was like, oh, Nell, when y'all weren't together, how long were y'all not together? And she was like, a year. And he was like, so did you have sex with somebody else? And she was like, no. He was like, like, that's what he expected Melody to do. Like, he expected Melody. That's the problem, because they had talked about how they were like mentors to them. And because, like Melly said, like, the Fletchers came over and, would talk to us to the middle of the night, like, trying to help us because they genuinely wanted us to work it out. But, it's kind of hard when you got a man like Martell. And she was like, I saw how Martell was acting, him and Fletcher the same thing, was arrogant and, you know, acting out and stuff. And like Melly said, when you come home early in the morning and acting like, you can do that, like, no. And so Nell explained, like, you're gonna, lose your wife. And so here it is, you're talking about, oh, did she cheat? But it's like, nigga, you were cheating for 5 years. For 5 years. And like Nell said, I'm glad she said it. If she had, she deserve a pass. After 5 years, and you feel like you don't deserve a lick back. But also, too, we also know Mel didn't cheat, because with the type of man that Martell is, if he really genuinely felt like Mel cheated, he would have not got back with her. Him and Marceau, they're all the type of man where it feels like a woman cheats, they can't do it. They are not gonna take her back. Period. So yeah, Martell don't really believe that mess. But yeah, that there was a part where too, they did talk about how Tisha asked the Fletchers about them cheating or whatever, and Carlos asked Tisha, well, why did you ask? And she's like, well, because me being on the show and stuff like that, I'm just kind of a straight, wanted to ask straightforward, because, obviously on this show, that's the topic that comes up. Tisha wanted to ask because it's like, one, I'm sure she was, because they probably dealt with that shit behind closed doors, point blank, period. But Tisha, knowing that the Fletchers kind of went through it, she's kind of subconsciously looking for guidance, because point blank, period, at some point they either did go through that or are going to go through that. And yeah, so when they asked Nell about, the cheatation, Carlos, he was like, so how'd you find out? She was like, somebody told me. And he asked Fletcher, okay, was it more than one woman? He was like, no, it was one. And so, of course, they asked, like, so you separated? She was like, yeah, 18 months. And so Carlos was like, why'd you take him back? And she's like, love make you do dumb things. She was like, I loved him, so I forgave him, point blank, period, And I really feel like that's what Martell expected Melly to do, because they were their mentors. Martell looked at their story and felt like, okay, well, if Melody's talking to Mel, she definitely gonna take me back. And when that didn't happen, he obviously, we can tell he's lost it. He's genuinely lost it. Like, we know he got arrested the other day, so he's genuinely lost it because of that. But he's always gonna scream, Mel cheated. I wasn't the only one. And Mel's like, you're such a liar. Why am I a liar? Why are you calling me a liar? Why am I a liar? And Carlos is trying to, he's like, for 6 years, we've been having this same argument. But Melody was like, I'm so worried. She's like, I'm so confused why a man so worried about a coochie that ain't even his, that isn't even his anymore. Martell's always gonna worry about Melody because he knows he fucked up bad, okay? Bad, okay? So then we gotta get into Martell yelling at Nell and that whole situation, and they kind of like, basically tell Martell, like, why are you yelling at a woman like that? Essentially was what the consensus should have been. But, for Chris, he says he sees Nell and Martell kind of like brother and sister. So if they beefing, they just fighting or whatever. But Mel was like, nah, I don't like that, because at the end of the day, one, she's a woman. And two, like, we should respect y'all. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be, oh, because that's my partner's wife, I'm going to try to respect her. It's simply, I should respect her. But Martell he's never going to not return the energy to a woman, because that's how he views handling women. And yes, as a woman screaming at a man, absolutely should not do it. But there is like something to be said when a man doesn't want to try to de-escalate a situation. And Martell's one of them Negroes that is not down for the de-escalation. And he's got anger problems at that. So yeah, that's why you got him yelling at Nell like that. Yeah, but Melody, like, I'm glad she said that. At the end of the day, like, you shouldn't be yelling back like that, period. But Martell's like, it should be, from both sides, because like at the end of the day, if she's yelling, when a man yells back, like, he basically feels like a man should be able to return the energy. Like, I don't mind, men and women and having, disagreements or whatever like that. Like I said, I'm not gonna say like I'm not one of those women who believes like, oh, if a woman's swinging on you, like you still shouldn't swing back. Like I just believe women like don't put yourself in a situation to get swung on. Like don't step to no man, because these niggas out here like they gonna fight you, so don't put yourself in that situation. But yeah, at the end of the day, like it just says a lot about a man who does feel okay matching a woman's energy, and not de-escalating it, which is what Martell, you say you show a lot about your character when you do shit like that. Point blank period. So of course he gotta get asked who was that woman in Houston. Of course he wouldn't lie, sitting there talking about it's the masseuse. Anyways, okay, yeah, the masseuse. And Melody was like, where was the table? He was like, it was my bed. Of course, Maurice, he was lurking around the corner. He was lurking around the corner. Oh yeah, Kimmi, yo bitch ass. I ain't mean to say it like that. Kimmi, when Nell was like, when she brought up how Mel, she should have deserved a pass had she really did cheat. Kimmi spoke up talking about, you think that's fair or something like that? She was like, yeah, like she was like, oh, so you feel like that's okay? And it was like, no, it ain't okay, but like in this moment, that's what I believe. Like Kimmi this season was just such a disappointment, and the reunion was just like the stamp of just like foolery with Miss Kimmi. But yeah, so then of course, like I said, they get to Martell inviting his woman, whatever thief in the night she was, and Maurice, was lurking around the corner, saw who it was. And then when they asked him about like, okay, so you got a massage? Was it a happy ending? Of course, he talked about nah. She was gone in an hour and a half. Then Kimmi talk about, Mel, you got a massage too. Why? Why? Like, just why, Kimmi? Like, Mel having a massage ain't had nothing to do, and it was just like, wow, it was unnecessary because immediately you knew it was gonna fuel Martell with the fire of, her doing something too. Like, that just really pissed me off, and it just made me, I had the Stormy face when just, because Stormy does stank face real good. Watch her. She just, like, I just looked at Kimmi like that. Just, girl, disgust. It was just so unnecessary. Martell told me, they were like, Martell, how you get it over there? Oh, it was just, I just, called, And so Melody was like, so I, travel, and I have an app called Zeal. And Carlos was like, I had the same thing. And then here go Martell. Yeah, Zeal, it was Zeal. Like, everybody busting out laughing because, like, at the end of the day, don't nobody believe Martell at all. But the question of, was it disrespectful? Nell was like, yeah, she just felt like it was just disrespectful to the trip as a whole. Just to, have some unsolicited visitors, you don't do that when you're out on a trip, like with your friends, kind of, you feel like. But I'm glad Kimmi kind of said it also too, like, they not together, so it don't matter. And Martell, you did it to get a rise out of Melody. Like, you wanted her to know that a woman was over there. You felt like it was gonna do something, but it didn't, like, at all. Melly ain't worried about you no more, Martell. And it hurts. I know it hurts. You want all access to her. You want any type of reaction out of her you can get. Because at least if you fighting with her, you still, have access to her. And that's why you in the situation you in now. Okay? Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. To jail. Shout out to Funky Dineva. So yeah, after that, we get into Keke coming on the trip. And y'all know Keke came, and her thing was, oh, I wanted to come so I could apologize to, Tisha, because at the end of the day, shouldn't nobody, get a drink thrown on them. And then she was like, but also I wanted to have, hang out with these guys. Because, and then when you said it like that, it just lent to what people are already saying about you, Keke, which is, did you basically use the show, kind of throw your relationship to the side for the show? And it's kind of giving you might have did a little bit. But Keke, she did come forward and say about how it was already planned for her to be, on the show before in the beginning. But Tisha kind of like, backpedaled because she was like, I knew she was going through a lot, and, putting out on TV, that was a lot. I didn't know, if you necessarily wanted to do that. And so Keke, of course, was dealing with, the drugs, the cheatation. And, she felt like she didn't want her to put that on TV yet. But Keke was like, I've owned up to my stuff. Of course, the thing that could have came out was like, me being, my addiction, and then, my husband and things like that. But that's it. Martell gonna pipe up talking about, no, it was one more thing. It was one more thing. And he was like, Marcel said it was one more thing. And so Keke was like, what is it? Like, what is it? With your bitch ass. She got him a bitch, but she was like, you such a bitch. Like, just, but you just a lying bitch. And so she was like, what is it, Marcel? Tell it. And Marcel's like, I ain't said nothing that hasn't, or revealed anything that hasn't been said. And Tisha was kind of like, it's not on us to reveal, what it is. But yeah, for Tisha, this is kaput on the relationship. She's not here for it. I can't be mad at her, y'all. Like, we can't be mad at her. Like she said, like, you can't be wanting to be my family, but then stabbing me in the back. Like, I can't keep doing that. And so Keke was like, yeah, of course I would want to fix it, but no, like, I mean, it is really hard. And so Tisha's like, I can't do it no more. And Carlos is like, well, but y'all's daughters are good. And she's like, that's the sad part because they're best friends. But she, tried to block my daughter's number at her phone. And Keke was like, wait a minute. No, I did not. No, I did not. And she was like, well, yeah. And I didn't like that Carlos was like trying to tell Keke to be like, oh, Keke, move on. Because that's a big allegation to make, to say that she was deleting your daughter's number out of her daughter's phone. That's a big allegation. And so I felt like she deserved a rebuttal. But Carlos was cutting Keke off a lot this reunion. Carlos, as Mariah said, he showed his slip for real. So then, of course, we got in talk about, of course, the cheatation rumors after, Tisha did the what's the thing called, the pregnancy test. And Marceau, his thing, I get it logically. A woman cheating, the probability of that is greater than finding out that your vasectomy failed. But it's not that. It's really the fact that at no point did Marceau really try to just outright say, like, that's my wife. I believe you, Tisha. Like, or I wouldn't think that low of you. Or like nothing. Carlos asked, like, you believe? He was like, yes. Does she have a vagina and a mouth? Absolutely. And so it's like they were saying, it's not necessarily cheatation. It's like you're speaking to the person that you think that she is. But see, Marcel's gonna think anybody's a cheater because he's a cheater. And when you know what you do, what you're gonna feel like projecting that on other people. And so, like Tisha said, like, if you don't trust me, why are we even together? Okay. And then so Carlos asked Tisha, or no, he asked Marceau, no, who was it? Mel had asked, Marceau, had she, got pregnant, would you stay with her? He said, no. And of course, that's what happens. The men get to go out there and dilly-dally, but, God forbid a woman return the favor, it's a problem, okay? And so Carlos asked, like, how would you feel? Or no, what was people said, like, do you feel, would Tisha be owed a pass had she cheated? And Kimmi's like, why did you say that? Wait, why did you say it like that? Because that means you're alluding to the fact that you already feel like he cheated. And it's like, Kimmi, stop playing games. Everybody already feel like Marceau cheated. And he did, and you did too. You think he did too. So let's not. Would Tisha be owed a cheatation? Probably at this point. Like she said, how many times I done stayed down with Marceau and looked stupid for him, talking about I believe my husband. Girl, stop it. Kimmi just really hurt my heart this season, for real. But yeah, we already know Marceau's that type of nigga. But I think honestly was it, you guys. Yeah, it's the end of the episode. Tiffany ain't coming back. Keke, I don't know what this means for her going forward. With her being on the show. Let's see. Martell, he always gonna be mad at Melody. What you guys think about the Fletchers, being on this season, and who do y'all think should be maybe added or taken away? And do y'all think is it time for Miss Coleslaw to make her debut, y'all? Is it given time? I mean, because that's where Martell's at in life. He getting arrested. He's staying with the baby mom. So, y'all, is it time for Coleslaw to finally get her debut she been praying for next season? Y'all let me know. Drop down in the comments. I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will catch y'all later. Deuces.